Morning, another beautiful day in God's kingdom. It's a funny thing about us as human beings, and it's kind of natural, isn't it? When you do something good, you expect, a reward, some kind of a thank you or whatever it is. But let's take a look at what we find in the scripture that we have before us today. And we're back in the book of Esther and we're in chapter 6. Let's read again from verse 1. This is what it says. That night, the king could not sleep. So one was commanded to bring the book of the records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs, the doorkeepers who had sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. Then the king said, "What honor or dignity has been bestowed on Mordecai for this?" And the king's servants who attended him said, "Nothing has been done for him." So let's stop there again and take a look at this, a point that I want to raise here. You see, Mordecai had actually basically foiled an assassination plot against the king. These two guys, these two doorkeepers had planned to kill the king. Mordecai overheard them, passed the information to the right authorities, and those guys were ultimately, executed, and the king was saved. So he had saved the king's life, but nobody remembered that. He didn't get a thank you, at least not recorded for us that he got a thank you, whether verbal or whatever, nothing. Like the eunuchs, like the reader of the chronicles said to the king, nothing had been done for him. And what happens to us as human beings is that, of course, we have an expectation when we do something good to at least receive a thank you. That's what we even tell our children, isn't it? Learn to say thank you when something good has been done for you. But what happens when you don't get that thank you? What happens when you don't get that reward? What happens when the good deeds that you have done are totally forgotten? What happens to you? You see, it's important that we always guard our hearts, you see, because when we find ourselves in that situation, just like Mordecai did, he continued with life. He continued doing the things that he was doing. He didn't stop, being a child of God. He didn't stop serving God. Just like we are not supposed to stop simply because the good things that we have done have not been recognized doesn't mean that we don't continue loving God. You see, because if we begin to think on that act, the fact that nobody recognized your good deeds, what happens? You begin to get angry, you begin to get frustrated, and before long that frustration turns into a hardness of the heart, where you begin to say, oh, there's no point doing anything good. Nobody recognizes your good works anyway. There's no point doing anything. There's no point going out of my way. There's no point going the extra mile. And you begin to become bitter and disgruntled in that place. And when you are in that situation, God cannot reach you. When you're in that situation, you then begin to actually enter into sin because you begin to get angry, frustrated, and all of these things. And then you begin to offend God. And that is not a good place to be. But when we find ourselves in a situation where maybe we've done something good, it's been forgotten, nobody's remembered us, hey, guess what? God always knows, God always remembers. So why don't you just relax, stay cool, forget about those things you've done. And if the opportunity comes again, do good again, be good, and let God be the one to keep a record of your good deeds. God bless you. Have a beautiful day.